If you bring Nick Foles in, you're either going to get the exact same or worse production. He's not a step up from Carson Wentz. Nick Foles was a great quarterback in the system we had, but he's a system QB. He does not have, in Carson Wentz situation, the raw talent on which can be molded to fit any system. Carson Wentz is a freak. And right now, we have to put some onus on this coaching staff that is ignoring problems we see in his
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin.
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, M. ChadBurn, and it is a pleasure to be with you again on this wonderful Sunday morning. I always behind the scenes is the wonderful and incredible Julien Renvoise. Julien, say hello to the folks out there.
Hello.
There he is. All right, folks. So for this show, really, I felt after last week and our complete annihilation of the Eagles and what they represent after their embarrassing debacle of a loss to the Dolphins, it was about time that I think we have to sit back and look at the rest of the season, evaluate the division that we're in because the Cowboys decided to lose again. So in this show, we're going to be going a little over the NFC East. I then have a special segment I want to do talking about Carson Wentz at the end. And then finally, we will get to the ChadBurn list where I have only one person on there and one group of people on there that need to be discussed. So the NFC East, folks, it is a dumpster fire of a division in the NFL. It is the worst division in the NFL. But right now, leading the pack are the Cowboys at 6-7, below 500. The division leader is below 500. And in fact, the Eagles still have a chance after losing to the Dolphins last week in embarrassing fashion. The Eagles still have a chance to win this division and get into the playoffs. It is incredible to even think that the Redskins, the Washington Redskins, with only a few wins this season, are also mathematically viable to make the playoffs. If the Cowboys were to continue to lose out and the Eagles lost out and the Redskins won the remainder of their games, which is very unlikely as they take on the Packers this week. If it were to happen, though, the Redskins could be representing the NFC East. The freaking Redskins. Folks, this is a sad time in our lives when we could see the NFC East be such hot garbage. We've always thought that this division was the best. We've had years where it's incredible. There is talent on all these teams. And I think it's more important to focus on the top talent on the two teams that are at the top of this division, the Cowboys and the Eagles. Both teams, for whatever reason, seem allergic to winning and trying to take this division. In fact, what we are getting instead is the Cowboys, when the Eagles have lost and now have a chance after losing 2 games in a row, all they got to do is try and take on the Bears on Thursday night, come clutch, take the lead, and basically end the story for the Eagles. They lose. They hand us the division. They're saying, look at this with one hand, the other hand's another magic trick, gone. They don't want playoff hopes, gone. They don't want it. They apparently can't pull it together to win critical games. And the Eagles are in the same boat. After having a loss from the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day, Eagles just need to win against the worst team in the league, and they blow it. They can't do it. So really, the question is this division going to be won through one game? Will there be a couple games? Will, in the end, the division leader who goes to the playoffs be 8-8? I mean, it's possible. We could have a 500 team going into the playoffs, taking on teams also with the 4th seed. Because they'd be division leaders, they'd be the 4th seed, ranked higher than teams with right now 9-3 records. Teams that could only have 3 losses this season could be going into the playoffs 13-3 and still have only the wild card to their name because of the dominant NFC West, because of the powerful NFC North. So right now, it seems that the NFC East is going to have someone representing them at 8-8, possibly 9-7, and be going in with a higher seed than some of the wild card teams. It's really remarkable to see this happening. And so I'm sometimes at a loss of words for this division. I don't know how it got this bad. We used to be one of the best divisions every year, and now we've gone to a point where we're the laughingstock of the league. And I think, it was worthwhile listening to some other perspectives for this type of take, like the Cowboys, because the Cowboys and the Eagles should be teams that should be coming into the season. We had hopes of 12-4, and right now they should be at 10-2, some of these teams, with how they play these games. If they had just changed a few ways they did, if they had come out more prepared, if the coaching staff had a better game plan, these teams could be 10-2 right now. And I got one to listen to, and I think they deserve a shout out because I was listening to their show, and it's an amazing show. The A&A Sports Show, they record live every Monday on Facebook, and they drop their episodes on Wednesday, but they're based out of Texas. And I got to listen to the last show where they were talking about a bigger disappointment in the team that is either the Dallas Cowboys or the Texas Longhorns for their state of Texas. And they were going on the fact that the Cowboys were definitely the worst team, the more disappointing, because of the talent on there. And as you know, I'm not always going to be supporting a Cowboys group because I'm just not, I'll never give Cowboys credit. But these guys have made great points and, much better than the normal Cowboy group people you see out in Philly. These guys, I stand by what they're saying. Alex, Anthony, and Kevin, the hosts of the show, were going on the fact that with a better coaching with Jason Garrett, they had a better coach in general, that this team could be 10-2 right now. Zeke Elliott is a great running back. Dak Prescott has proven himself to be a great quarterback. And the wide receiver core with Amari Cooper and Gallup is a tight wide receiver core. Yet you have games against New England Patriots where Amari Cooper was only getting the ball one time. It's insane what's happening. The Eagles are also the same problem. The coaching staff is coming out with inconsistent game plans. The running game isn't good. The run game is good, but they're not running the ball enough. They're continuing to try to put it into the hands of the quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, and throw it 40-plus times a game. It's just ridiculous. So I was listening to them. I think it's honestly a great show. This week, if you get a chance to listen to them, they're recording obviously tomorrow, and they'll be on Facebook Live. They're bringing on the GM of the Austin Bold FC, one of Austin's professional soccer teams out there. So if you are from the Texas region, want to hear some Texas thoughts, I also love listening to them because they talk about Texas high school football, which is insane. The culture around it, the fact that it gets so much attention, that you have literally grown men in high school because these kids are so, just so prepared and going to be playing at a high collegiate level as well as the NFL. They have great takes and go it. So honestly, give Alex, Anthony, and Kevin a chance. It's a great show. Again, A&A Sports. Check it out on Facebook Live on Monday, and when they drop their episodes on Wednesday. Really great stuff. And they focus on sports world, and every time they have great guest interviews. So give them a listen. A great show. So now we kind of talked about the NFC East and these Cowboys and the Eagles and why they just can't seem to pull it together. I'm going to take a little more focus back to the Eagles and what we've been dealing with as an Eagles fan base as these losses continue. Right now, the Folesian Society is gaining strength once again. People on social media, after these last 3 losses, for whatever reason, are starting to ask, because the Jaguars are looking like they're going to bench Nick Foles and they're not going to go forward with having him on the team. People are starting to ask, should maybe the Eagles try and pick up Nick Foles again? Do we want him as a backup? Do we want him replacing Carson Wentz? And the Folesian Society is getting stronger and stronger and coming out and saying, yes, that's what they want. They want to bring Nick Foles back. These people are driving me insane. They are not basing it on fact at all. In fact, we're going to do a little deep dive on Carson Wentz today because I think Carson Wentz deserves a little defending over the last few games. He has not looked great. I agree. The mechanics look off. The balls are sailing, and a lot of you can see this from the footwork, how he's positioning himself to make those throws. He's also, when he's getting sacked a lot, because he does have a higher sack percentage, he's holding onto the ball long because he's waiting for these complicated plays from Doug Peterson to develop. He's waiting for the deep threat. He's not checking down, or the check down is not a well-positioned play at all. So there are issues in Carson's game plan, and a lot of it has to go with coaching. But if you look and compare between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles over the last 3 games, all 3 games have been losses. Carson Wentz is actually having a higher average completion percentage over these 3 games versus Nick Foles. And both of them are throwing the ball a lot. Nick Foles had to throw in the first 2 games of the 3 series against Indiana and Tennessee over 40 times. Same as Carson. His first game against Indianapolis, Nick Foles, when coming back from injury, did have a 70% completion rating, but 2 TDs and an interception. That's great. But since then, 0 TDs the next 2 games. Nick Foles has not thrown a touchdown over the last 2 games. In fact, the last game against Tampa, he only threw the ball 14 times. And that's because they gave the ball to Fournette 14 times and 9 to the passing. Just a bad game. He threw an interception and had 2 fumble loss with a quarterback rating of 41.7. He's not been playing well. Nick Foles is not coming through. He's losing to teams that Gardner Minshew beat early in the season with the same team around him. And I'm not trying to brag down on Nick Foles. He's great to the society, but we have to look at it. Carson Wentz, okay? And New England, terrible, but he had a 50%. He had to throw 40 times. 5 sacks, still threw a TD, and with 1 problem, fumble loss, 74.4 rating. The next game in Seattle, again, throwing for 45 times, 45 attempts. He brought his percentage up to 73 with a TD but 2 interceptions. Too many times with throwing the ball. Same thing that Foles had to go through. And then in Miami, Carson Wentz had to throw the ball 46 times. We threw the ball 46 times against Miami against the worst running defense in the league. We decided to not run the ball, but throw it. I don't know where that came from, Doug Peterson. That makes no sense to me. Why the hell are we trying to not run the ball against this team? He brought up his percentage 68%. 3 touchdowns from Carson Wentz and 1 interception. So over these 3 games, Carson Wentz has 5 touchdowns. Nick Foles, 2. Carson Wentz does have the 3 interceptions versus the 2 interceptions in Nick Foles, but both not doing well there. And they both have an issue of losing the ball with the fumbles, not having strength in the pocket. So really, if you bring Nick Foles in, you're either going to get the exact same or worse production. He's not a step up from Carson Wentz. Nick Foles was a great quarterback in the system we had, but he's a system QB. He does not have, in Carson Wentz situation, the raw talent on which can be molded to fit any system. Carson Wentz is a freak. And right now, we have to put some onus on this coaching staff that is not ignoring problems we see in his mechanics. They're not addressing it throughout the week. They're not trying to correct the short throws that he's throwing over the heads. They're not trying to correct more deep ball passing routes. We saw at the beginning of the season, he looked great with Deshaun Jackson because he practiced really hard. And when he practiced, he could be great at it. And clear we were not putting it through with these other wide receivers, whether it's speed, whether it's ability to track. Maybe they're not great deep threats like Deshaun Jackson, but there are other issues that we need to look at when we look at the film. And I harp back to this being a coaching problem, because if we compare Carson Wentz even to a great, and I'm not trying to be sacrilegious here, to a great like Tom Brady, look at their first 3 seasons, okay? Carson Wentz in his first 3 seasons here, 2016, 2017, 2018, even with the injury in 2017, much like Brady had an injury early in 2001 where he didn't complete the season, their percentages, Carson's almost as good, if not better, in a lot of situations. His average completion percentage over those 3 years versus Tom Brady's first 3 is better. He was throwing average more yards per game. And he had overall the seasons, Tom Brady only beat Carson Wentz 1 season with more yardage in those first 3 years. And he killed him when it comes to touchdowns. If you look at 2017, even don't forget, before he got injured, he played 13 games. There were still 3 more games to go. He threw 33 touchdowns with only 7 interceptions. Last year, even before he went out with the back injury, 21 TDs, 7 interceptions. With a quarterback rating of 102. So even in a season when it was bad, he was 5-6 last year. He's still throwing touchdowns all the time when he gets in red zone. He's not giving the ball away a lot with interceptions. And he's still throwing for over 3,000 yards. In just 11 games, Carson got over 3,000 yards passing. With over 279 attempts, which, by the way, last year, before he got injured, Carson had more throwing attempts than he did in 2017. This is emblematic of this coaching staff. For whatever reason, Doug Peterson, much like Andy Reid, will not back off the pass. And he's going to keep passing and passing no matter if it's working or not. Carson Wentz is being put into a situation where he has to throw the ball 35 to 40 times a game, every game. There are no games where he's being cut under to 20 passes and we're going to go run heavy. For whatever reason, Doug Peterson cannot adjust his game plan for the defense we're playing. If he's going up against a defense that can't stop the run, he's still throwing the ball. I think we have to go with this. The fact of the matter is, while Carson Wentz's numbers or his first 3 seasons look better than some of the numbers we see in Tom Brady's first 3 seasons, Tom Brady had 2 Super Bowl titles in those 3 seasons. 2. That's talent around him and the coaching staff keeping it together. Knowing the talent they have and making sure to use it wisely. Because while Tom Brady has gone over 300 passing yards attempts almost every in some seasons, completions I should say, and he's throwing over 3,000 yards some seasons, his first season where he won a Super Bowl, he was held under 3,000 yards by about 200 yards. So he's not having to throw the ball all the time. Tom Brady's just he's a surgeon. He's precise. He knows exactly where the ball's going to go, and he just does what needs to get done. And the coaching staff understands that they need to also have the run game powerful in there. So really what I'm just getting so sick and tired of is hearing a lot of this criticism of Carson Wentz that we need to get rid of him when we're not taking a step back and being like, what is he being taught throughout the season? What are the game plan strategies they're putting together for Carson Wentz? What are they trying to do to help him grow and to help make him a better quarterback? We know he has the talent. We know he has a freak level ability. His arm strength is off the charts. We need to just get it more accurate. We need to work on the fundamental things that can tighten his game up. If we can do that, if we can get better game plans, if we can get the team to get around him better, then we're good to go. And people are talking about he's lost the locker room and that when Foles was here, it was a better locker room atmosphere and people trusted him. If that's the case, then maybe we need to rebuild this team around him. Because the people that like him, the people that are around him, really do like him. And there's only a few people that we've heard of that don't like his leadership. And in fact, some of those people, such as Alshon Jeffrey, maybe Nelson Aguilar is one of those other names out there that doesn't like the way Carson plays, they're not producing. They're not playing well. Alshon Jeffrey finally came through last week, and I will stand by him that was a great performance against the Dolphins. But it's still not enough. Maybe we need to get younger, better wide receivers in here, wide receivers that can spread out the field, allow Carson to diversify his game, and who will kind of be, we can build as a team together with those young players and make sure that Carson has that support in the locker room. Look how it worked out in Seattle. There were people that did not like Russell Wilson. And what did they do? They got rid of those players. And look at them now. Russell Wilson has a team that trusts him, has a core of wide receivers that believe in him, and every person on that team is a unit. We need to get back to the structure we had in 2017 with that offense, that type of game plan, bring in a new offensive coordinator that can rein in Doug Peterson's bad instincts and create a better balanced game plan. Bring in a better defensive coordinator so that we can have some defense to keep the points low so Carson can go out there and our offense can score enough to win the game. And we need to have a consistent play from week to week. We'll see how they play against the Giants, another bad team. But after the Dolphins win, these Eagles could lose. And if it continues to go on, it just goes back to our earlier NFC East conversation that then it's just going to go back to who's going to lose less. It's no longer about who's going to win the game. It's just like who might not lose. Because these are bad teams. And unless they can come together and actually have a chance and try and string along some wins here, it's going to be a race to the bottom here in this division. I have faith the Eagles should be able to pull it out against the Giants this week. They are the better team. But much like A&A Sports talking about with the Cowboys, this is a team that should be 10-2, has the talent to be 10-2, but from other issues on the coaching and inconsistent play for both sides of the ball, they are now at 5-7, the Eagles. Cowboys 6-7. It's not good, folks. This is a really bad season, and I'm really getting tired of it. It's draining on me. It really is. So that's why I want to talk about Carson Wentz. Social media was driving me crazy with this. And maybe we'll hear more of it after I post some of these videos on Instagram and maybe after people listen. But I really stand by it. Carson Wentz has the tools to be a great quarterback. Can the coaching staff take advantage of that and do something great with it? Time will tell. I'm hoping next year we have a great staff around it that can really build this team out. Because if not, we're looking at this consistent this consistent 500 team each year. We're going to be 8-8, 9-7, and that's going to be the best we can hope for. Again, this team was projected to be 12-4. So following that rant, I think it's time to go into our regular segment we have at the end of the show, the
ChadBurn Show Burn List,
and start discussing some of the group that I'm mad at. As you can tell, and it's pretty obvious, the group that I'm going to be targeting right now is
Folesian Society.
So, the reason we're going to talk about them, why I'm going to go deeper, is because they are coming out strong right now. So, all I have to say to the Folsey Society is stop. Please, please stop. Just stop. Your affinity to support Foles over Wentz is backed completely by sentimental attachment to the Super Bowl win. It is not based in fact nor statistics. If you took the time to review the last 3 games as we did in this show, between both quarterbacks, you would see, as we discussed, that they come out almost exactly the same, except Wentz has been far more efficient in the red zone with more touchdowns and has been getting sacked more and completing passes at a higher percentage rate. Bad offensive line still getting it done. Foles is losing in these categories against teams that, as we said, Minshew was able to beat early in the season with the same unit around him. So your harping on Foles over Wentz needs to stop. I understand the significance of Foles and what he meant to the Eagles fan base, to the whole city of Philadelphia. We can honor him as a legend and someone we will talk about for years to come, but we have to stop thinking him as a present-day solution. In fact, if the Eagles fan base and the Folsey Society specifically, they continue to do this, the Eagles fan base will not be able to grow until they are either able to back Wentz as the franchise quarterback or look to the future for another quarterback, a quarterback to take Wentz's place if you're not going to back him. But it can't be Foles. To continue to try and bring Foles back into both conversations and trying to bring him back to this team means you are either A, stuck in the past and unable to move forward, and you are B, delusional. It is time we as a fan base detach from the Super Bowl and expect more from our team. We can no longer rest on our laurels. Only by doing so will we hold this team accountable and strive for the next Super Bowl win. This is what needs to get done, folks. We are not going to grow as a fan base if we continue to stick to this old narrative of Foles over Wentz. Folsey Society, you are on my list. You get ChadBurn.
ChadBurn.
So that's the end of my show, folks. A little bit of talk of the NFC East, a lot of talk about Carson Wentz, a lot of talk about the Folsey Society. I would like to thank you for coming and joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on and to discuss it. We are recording on the weekends and posting these shows live on Sunday. We then obviously have all the clips on Instagram, so stay up to date on Instagram by following us at The ChadBurn Show to see clips from our show, video of it, as well as updates on when the next podcast will be dropping. You can also catch us on Google Play, iTunes, and YouTube and Spotify. If you ever want to get in contact with me to talk about the show or ask questions, you can email me at chadburn.show@gmail.com. Again, chadburn.show@gmail.com. And as always, I'll respond to DMs on Instagram at The ChadBurn Show. Feel free to message me there. We also are on TikTok, posting some fun content about the Eagles there. We're also trying to continue to put the content out on Instagram and on the Facebook group. I have the Facebook group for the ChadBurn Show if you ever want to follow there and continue the conversation on Facebook. But as always, thank you for listening in. We'll continue to bring the most content we can on Eagles as well as the NFC East and football. We will later in the season be starting to transition towards the Sixers because they were playing great. We'll start talking basketball as the football season ends. But until next time, thank you for listening. We'll stay in touch and hope you have a great evening.